here is a look at the eagle, and this part here, the body and the legs, is pretty simple deal. You can use double-sided tape to hold these down if you're going to cut just a few, or you could screw them to a sacrificial board from the back side of your sacrificial board and then cut them out, and then of course take the screws out after you remove your sacrificial board, and or you could use a vacuum setup, and either way I can show you how to do that. The vacuum setup would be ideal if you're going to make a lot of them, but I can tell you how I would go about doing that if you're interested. So the real trick is going to be cutting the wing, and if we look here, you can see I've split the wing down the middle. So actually, if we bring this edge to this edge, then these two holes are basically the same hole, and then the wing is one piece. Now you could cut this in two pieces and bolt it together or screw it together with some glue and screws into the eagle body, or you can make it one piece, and I'm going to show you how I would make it one piece on your machine. So let's just do a little quick math here. Let's say, I believe you said your machine was 30 inches by 32 inches. So I'm going to create a little box over here, and we're going to call that your machine, and we're going to do 30 and 32. Now, so here's the size of your table, and I'm actually going to change the color of this to a gray so that we can work with it. Now, obviously, and I'm going to hope that your machine is actually just a little bit bigger than the 30, because we're going to want to put a pin, a pivot point at 30 inches, which would be the center of the wing. So in order to do that, we first have to put down some pins on your machine in order to hold the wing. So we start by using this code over here, and that is the fixture center, which is here, and then these three pins. These three pins are really critical. So what we would do, or what I would do, is I would go ahead and grab these three pins, and I'm just going to make a copy of these. So I'm going to copy them, and then I'm going to go over to the machine, and I'm going to put these pins down, and we'll just put them down on the machine. We'll just use the center part of the machine. So now I need to move this over, and I want this, remember this is going to be the center of the wing, so I want this crosshair to be on the edge, because we need every little bit of machine we can have. So I'm going to move that crosshair and put it right in the middle. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to put this on the crosshair, and then I'm going to move the crosshair to the edge of the machine. So now I have that crosshair right on the edge. Now this hole is not that critical because we don't really need that. However, it's nice to have it if we can get a pin in that so that we can actually pivot the wing on that. So that way we know where it's at. But once we have these holes, it really doesn't matter because we'll be able to locate it. So the critical holes are these three holes here. Two of them, the one on the bottom and the one on the top, you can put a pin, a dowel, to locate your part, and then this one you can actually run a screw into it, into the table, so that you can actually hold this piece down onto the pins. And keep in mind, this will be covered up, these parts will be covered up with the body of the eagle, because that's actually the center of the wing, and the body is going to lay on it. So we have these 3 holes. Those are the critical holes. And we're going to put pins in these holes. And then we're going to take the wing, and I need to put these 7 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the center hole, which would be number 7. And the reason these 2 holes are apart is because I've split the wing apart a little bit. And that pattern is right here. So I need to grab this pattern right here, which is, again, 3 holes, 3 holes, and a center hole. And I'm just going to make a copy of that. And now I am going to go and get me a piece of material to cut the wing out of. So I'm just going to draw that piece of material over here like this. And this piece of material needs to be about 60, and we'll make it 60 and a half. So 60.5, and then 11.75, 11 3/4 wide. So that's how big a piece of material I want to be able to cut this wing in one piece. So now I want to find the center of this piece of material. So you're going to find the center, and that's going to be simply done like that, and then simply done like this. So there is the center of this piece of material. That's dead center. Now remember that pattern that I just copied, which is going to be here. Remember the crosshair? See, I have the 6 holes and the crosshair. I want to put this crosshair right here. I want to make sure this stays straight. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it and put it on the crosshair here. So let's take it here, and let's go over here and put this right on the crosshair. And so there I have. Now I'm going to get rid of this line because I no longer need that. I no longer need that, and I no longer need that one. So now you can see I have this hole, and then I have 6 holes on the outside. So next, remember the crosshair hole? This is a center hole. That hole needs to line up with this hole. We're going to have a left wing over here and the right wing over here. So I'm going to move this over a little bit so I'm not so crowded there. So now that we have the holes in the center of the board, I'm going to show you how we use that in order to connect it to the table. So again, this is the cut table, and we have a pin at the top and a pin at the bottom, and we're going to use this hole for a screw. So we're just going to take our piece of material and we're going to set it in the machine, and we're going to line this hole up with this pin and this pin. So if I do that, we're going to see that the board is going to set in here, and it's going to stick over a little bit because the board is a little bit larger than the 60 inches that the wing is, because the board is 60 plus, and the wing is going to wind up being 60 inches. So now we have that located, and we go ahead and cut this part. We're going to run the file that's going to cut the right half. So the bit's going to come in, it's going to grab or start here and go around and come up to this point here and stop. So then you're going to have the bit lift up and move out of the way. Well, now you have this board that has half the wing cut out of it. We need to rotate the board. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift the board up. So take this screw out, lift it off of these 2 pins, this pin and this pin, and now we're going to rotate it. So I'm going to just go right here so I can rotate, and I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. So in other words, I'm going to put this green dot back over here. So it's going to rotate this away. So basically what's going to happen is the wing, the top of the wing is up here, the bottom of the wing is down here. Well, whenever I rotate that, we're going to put the top of the wing down at the bottom over here, and the bottom of the wing, this wing is going to wind up on the top. So this is in fact going to roll around and wind up here. So let me go ahead and do that by doing this at 180. Now you can see the green dots over here. So basically what I've done is turn this around, or rotated it. I didn't flip it, I just rotated it. And then I set it back down on the pins, and notice this part here again is sticking over just like it did before, but we have a pin in this hole and a pin in this hole, and if we put a screw in this hole, then that's going to hold this down so that we can continue the cut. So now at this point we're going to go up and grab the left side, which would be here, and remember we rotated that, so because we rotated it, this wing is going to be upside down. So again, we start the tool here, we go around, and whenever we finish, we wind up with a wing that has been cut out of the material, and we've used this pin and this pin to make sure that the board stays or is located properly before we start cutting. And then also whenever we go to cut it, we could put a screw down on this end into the part that's going to be removed, which is going to be in this area right here, because this board is actually comes straight out and then goes straight up and then goes over. So we could put a screw in this area right here, would hold the end of the board. So in 2 steps, you put it down, you cut, move out of the way, lift it up, rotate it, set it back down over the 2 pins, and in 2 cuts you wind up cutting your wing in 1 piece, but using your machine. So remember, the board's going to need to stick over just a little bit on this side and quite a bit on this end in order to use your machine to cut the 30-inch piece of material twice. That's going to make a 60-inch wing. So you can study this and watch the video a second time or a third time, and if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll answer them as best I can.